There's a saying in France, you are what you eat. No other nation on earth is as food-focused as the French. So here's a whole country thinking of what they're going to have for lunch as soon as they finish breakfast. Welcome to the wonderfully fixated world of French food safari. In this safari, a celebration of French cheese in all its glory. Escargot from farm to plate, delicious beef cheeks cooked to perfection, and how to make those delightful little raspberry tarts. In France, cheese is a religion. A daily visit to the fromager or cheese shop is more than one of the pleasures of life, it's an essential. Each region in France makes its own distinctive cheese, the type of milk and style of cheese dictated by the terroir, the particular geography and climate of a place. In the mountainous forested Ardèche region, goat milk is the basis of much of the cheese, the herd spending the cooler months inside nice warm barns. Jérôme Hapelin believes caring for his herd produces great cheese. How important is it to have happy animals?
C'est déjà important pour moi, donc la suite suivra.
It's very important for Jérôme to have happy goat, and when Jérôme is happy and the goat are happy, everybody is happy, and the fromage. The fromage. Oh.
Amazing.
Hey.
On en est où là? Le lait est d'hier matin et il a caillé. C'est-à-dire qu'une fois qu'on a mis donc la présure, le lait a coagulé en fait. On appelle ça du caillé. Et ce caillé, on peut le mouler dans les faisselles. Pour faire un fromage comme celui-ci, il faut remplir.
To make a cheese like we saw, you have to double up.
Yeah?
Yes,
Oh, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
All the
will be
liquid
like
comes
this.
out.
24 hours, you will end up with that.
It's such an incredibly simple process.
So simple, yeah. C'est tellement simple.
C'est tellement simple donc, que tout va bien. Personnellement, mes préférés, c'est les plus secs, les plus vieux. Mais ceux que je vends le plus, c'est les crémeux comme ceci.
You want to try?
That for me is perfect. It's creamy, it's a mild goat flavour. Why do you think that French people like yourself make such good cheese?
Parce qu'à la base, je pense qu'on aime les manger.
Yeah, we've got taste buds.
We've got taste buds. Bottom line is we know to eat.
Good.
Every French eat a cheese every day.
Every day.
Ah yes, it's very important.
Oui. It's like you need it.
C'est dans les gènes, c'est dans le palais.
It's an automatisme.
Yes.
C'est un automatique de manger.
Exactement, oui.
Laurent Dubois owns one of the most popular cheese shops right in the centre of Paris, a place where food lovers choose from some of the hundreds of cheeses he sells, the variety changing with the season.
In France, we have 1,000 cheese, and you have 300 or 400 artisanal cheese.
Wow. And how many cheeses have you got in your shop here?
300.
300. Laurent is one of a select group of affineurs, a term used to describe someone who selects cheeses and through special care ages them, deciding when they're at their best to release to the public. The work of an affineur refines the cheesemaker's product to something truly exceptional, each individual cheese requiring special care, which all takes place underground.
Wow.
Is this your dream?
This is a toy shop.
Wow.
La cave.
This is the most fragrant room on
C'est
earth.
mes trésors.
And tell me, what work do you do in here?
Donc par exemple, les comtés, on les brosse,
You brush?
on les retourne pour qu'ils respirent comme ça.
Ah.
Et ceux-là, on peut les garder presque plus d'1 an dans la cave.
And why do you brush them?
C'est ce qui se développe sur la croûte des fromages quand ils vieillissent, ça s'appelle le ciron. Et si on laisse le ciron se développer, après le fromage il prend un goût un peu amer qui est pas bon. C'est parce que oui, parce qu'il y a des fromages de chèvre on prend 2 directions dans les fromages de chèvre quand on affine. Soit on les fait fermenter, crémer, ou soit on évacue l'humidité puis on les fait sécher, un peu comme les tarentais.
The washed-rind cheeses are bathed daily in a brine to aid fermentation and allow the cheese to become creamy inside. But Laurent's personal favourite is the amazing Comté, a semi-hard cow's milk cheese that's aged for at least 12 months.
Magnifique.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, my boy. Merci.
I test the texture. When I test,
Crumble it.
voilà. L'odeur,
It's a beautiful sweet aroma, isn't it?
c'est un peu torréfié, c'est un caramel, café,
And when you talk cheese, you're talking wine too, aren't you?
souvent. Ouais.
The two
Wine,
together.
wine and bread.
We are in France.
Yeah. Australian-based Will Stard is synonymous with cheese. He's spent 30 years studying the world's great cheeses and has shared his knowledge in books and on television. In 2009, he was awarded for his work in supporting French raw milk cheese by the French Ministry of Agriculture. And he's also recognised by France's prestigious Guilde des Fromagers as a master of cheese. So, Will, what should you do and not do when presented with a cheese platter?
Well, there's a little bit of etiquette when it comes to cheese. And one thing you should never do, for example, is cut the nose off a cheese like that. Okay, a lot of people, that's the best bit. That's why. So basically, if you're going to cut something like a brie, you're going to cut it like that, and so you slowly work back so that the person at the end basically isn't left with just this piece here. The other thing is to always start with the freshest, youngest cheese, or the cheese with the least flavour, and work through to the cheese with the most flavour.
To have a cheese course, to do the French-style cheese course, how would you serve cheese?
As a general principle, most people would go for a soft, a blue, and a hard cheese, and that's a general principle. So you might go for something like a Roquefort, for hard cheese something like a Comté, and for a soft cheese something like a Camembert or a Brie.
Just as is?
Yeah, just as is.
Wonderful. Oh, that's just lovely, isn't it?
Just melts around the tongue, a little bit of saltiness. And this is Roquefort. It's the only soft blue cheese. These little blue holes here are basically created by putting blue mould grown on bread into the curds of the cheese when it's made. And then the cheeses are moved when they're very young to the caves and spiked. And you can see these little spike holes down here. That's where a metal spike's gone into the cheese. It allows air into the cheese, which encourages the mould to start growing. And the mould wakes up and goes, party time. And that's how the blue grows inside. And very soft.
It's a complete experience, isn't it? It sort of floods your mouth with flavour.
But then it's very important to remember that one great cheese in perfect condition is much better than 5 or 6 cheeses in just average condition. So one of my personal delights is to sit and enjoy just a piece of Roquefort, that's seasonally perfect with some rye bread and some sauterne in a nice place. And you can't beat that. And that's just one cheese.
Sounds great. Escargots are one of the great symbols of French cuisine. Snails became popular in France when wine merchants visiting Burgundy were served snails at the local inns. Word spread and everyone wanted to try them. The demand so great that snails began to be farmed. Australia also has snail farms. This one in the Hunter Valley produces thousands of snails for the culinary market every week. Farmer Helen Dyball says getting great results involves careful breeding, selection and feeding. So Helen, what sort of snails are in here?
These pens here are our quarantine pens, and we keep them in here for a month.
So you've got lots of different sorts of snails here?
They're all the same species, the common garden snail. That's the only edible snail in Australia.
And how different are the snails that you're breeding here from what you would get in France?
Same species, but they've just been growing them a lot longer over there, so they're a lot larger.
And so a month after being quarantined, what happens to them then?
They move over to these pens. The big ones that we move into there go into our breeding program, and the others stay there to see if they will grow up to be large snails to go back into our breeding program.
Oh, so you're not eating this, you're eating the...
we collect for breeding stock, and their offspring will become the escargot.
So tell me why that's a perfect snail.
His shell is full and he just looks perfect. Lovely and cream, full of weight. We cull it about 8 grams, which is a nice mouthful.
Oh, a nice mouthful.
Yes.
And what happens to the snail after this?
They go into purging for about a week.
So purging is a bit like the health farm. They go on the cleansing diet.
Cleansing diet,
Rightio.
yes. Would you like to see that?
Yeah, why not?
All of these as well.
They really are pale flesh, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they're quite even in size, aren't they?
Yes, these are all, should be all 8 grams plus. This is the snail poo here. So we'll water those, and tomorrow there'll be a little bit more poo and a little bit more, and then after that, there's no more, and they're ready to be cooked.
So these are the snails that Helen brought me this morning.
Chef Robert Molinez is delighted to have a snail farm close by. Robert loves to prepare snails at home as well as in his restaurant, Bistro Molinez, in the Lower Hunter Valley. With his wife Sally at front of house, Robert has been cooking beautiful French-inspired food in the valley since 1973. Born in Algeria, he studied in France, inspired by his stepfather who was chef to the King of Monaco, and his early life was punctuated with family feasts of escargot. Robert, having come to a country that doesn't have snails or escargot as part of our cuisine, how difficult has it been to change people's minds about putting something that they see in the garden into their mouths?
From the point of view of the fresh snails, yes, it's a bit great hesitation. But it's just a matter of convincing, you know. And I think it's just a matter of time when people really discover and put their perception behind, and they will say, that doesn't taste too bad, you know. And the distinct flavor of the snail is the nuttiness. That's why anything like mushroom, peas, a good glass of red wine, of course, you know.
Yes, yeah, and another conversion underway.
Absolutely,
Very
yeah.
good.
And finish with a bit of cheese, maybe, you know.
Perfect.
And then you need another glass of red wine.
Ah.
And then you are in heaven. Put them to a nice...
To start his escargot recipe, Robert pops the snails into the freezer to sleep, then rolls out puff pastry for the classic vol au vent in a snail shape that he serves it in. That's wonderful.
So we're going to...
The pastry cooks at 180 degrees until it's golden. Robert then drops the snails into boiling water to cook. How do you tell when a snail is ready?
That would take about 15 to 20 minutes. Like anything else, like gnocchi, you know, they come up to the top.
How many snails would you do at a sitting there?
3 to 4 dozen easily.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely, yes.
Show me how you do this.
Okay, now
So you
they've
shred
cooled
that
down.
into the...
Yeah, and
Oh, listen to that sucking noise.
the whole snail must come out. And if they're not cooked right long enough, they snap halfway. So we'll cut a bit of butter.
In a frying pan, Robert adds butter,
Oh, we've cooked all of them.
diced red onion and speck. Then quartered button mushrooms.
Okay. We add the snails. I can feel the marriage already, you know.
He adds chopped chervil and red wine.
A good wine,
But a medium-bodied
a medium body, yes.
Then fresh garden peas. Beautiful, great colours. And ladlefuls of reduced beef stock.
Wait for this to reduce, so you can see that it's becoming a saucy thing. So now you can see. I like to be generous when I serve this, you know, because I like to think that once you have a taste of wine, you feel more invigorated to have more. And we're having a little garden there for the snail. All right. Well, bon appétit.
Bon appétit and merci, Robert. And I'm going straight for the snail. Very keen to try. It does have a nuttiness to it. An earthy,
Crunchy.
slightly crunchy.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Warren Turnbull is one of the rising stars of Sydney's dining scene. Born in New Zealand, he trained in the exacting kitchens of London and Sydney and now creates his own exquisite take on French food at his restaurants District Dining and Assiette. One of his signature dishes uses French techniques to create wonderful flavour from a cut of meat that's now becoming popular. Beef cheeks cooked to a beautiful melting consistency.
It's one of those things where you can just chuck it in the oven. You can go to the pub, have a couple of beers, come back, it's ready, you know, and then you're really hungry and away you go. You can just, you know, perfect with a bit of mashed potato, even just some bread, just mop it up and
Sounds
happy
great.
days, yeah. Okay, so here we've got one of the beef cheeks that I've been marinating for 24 hours.
In red wine.
So we've got red wine port, and we've just got some shallot, bit of garlic, some rosemary, thyme, carrot and celery. So
Warren starts by sealing the marinated beef cheeks in grapeseed oil.
nice and hot. So you just want to get a nice colour on these.
He then adds the vegetables and herbs from the marinade and some of the liquid.
And that's going to lift up all that caramelisation we had from the beef cheek, and all that flavour will go into it.
Warren then pours in some lovely syrupy reduced veal stock. That looks nice and rich and cooked down.
Yeah, and beautiful one here. So yeah, just a bit of foil.
He covers the pan and cooks it in the oven for 2.5 to 3 hours at 160 degrees.
Pull this off.
It smells wonderful.
Yeah, it smells beautiful.
Wow.
It'll just fall away. Look out.
Gosh,
this
you
is
can
the spoon.
eat it with a spoon, can't
Exactly. And that's what we're up to. Look at that.
you? Wow.
Just delicious, isn't it?
To add his special touch to the dish, Warren pulls
then
apart
we
the meat
just-
using a spoon.
Look at that. It's so gelatinous and beautiful.
It looks wonderful. Smells great. Looks so rich too.
That's exactly it. So I'm just going to season that up a little bit. Just a bit of diced carrot and celery. It's just for a bit of texture and colour. A little bit of parsley. Parsley and beef cheeks, I think, goes really well. Let's put a bit of that.
Warren forms the mix into a sausage shape by rolling it in plastic wrap, ready to put into the fridge to set. He then prepares Tunisian brick pastry made from wheat flour and oil.
You can see it's sort of, it's like a really thin crepe pancake sort of, but it goes incredibly crispy when you fry it off.
Yeah,
It's incredible. And this is our sausage that we rolled earlier.
The pastry is brushed with an egg yolk and the chilled beef cheek sausage rolled up.
You want to do a couple of layers so then you've got more of a crisp shell. Just cut the ends off. And that's what we're finished with.
Fantastic.
Raw.
Warren likes the fresh crunch of celeriac to accompany the rich meat cigar.
When I first started cooking, my chef used to go around to the garbage bins and check everyone's bins, and if there was any rubbish in the bins, you'd get in big trouble. So I used to get so scared. I used to hide all my trimmings and stuff in my pockets, and then I'd go to the toilet and flush them down the loo.
Oh, God.
Okay, coleslaw.
The celeriac is sliced into thin batons and a pinch of salt added to soften them slightly.
Break it down just a little bit.
This is mixed with creme fraiche and a generous dollop of peppery horseradish.
A little bit of parsley. Just chuck that in there.
And for more fresh flavours, Warren uses handfuls of mint, parsley and basil to make sauce verte. He adds a couple of eschalots and some garlic, Dijon mustard, anchovies and some capers. A splash of vinegar and olive oil and blends the lot.
Wow. Sesame puree. And then we just need to cook our croustillants. So for this, I'm just going to use a bit of olive oil. Like I said, the seal side, I'm just going to put that down. And then all we do is just keep moving them around till they crisp up. That's what I love about this pastry, it just cooks so quickly. So we can start plating everything up. And then we'll just garnish it with a little bit of bit more parsley here. And there we go.
Very nice. French cuisine without sweet pastry is unthinkable. Life is punctuated with an artist's palette of fruit tarts that come in all sizes. The simple mixture of butter, sugar, flour and egg becomes the basis of pure magic. Guillaume, in mastering French cuisine, pastry is an area that you need to stick to the rules and do properly, don't you?
Well, yeah. There's a reason where it's 100 grams, not 60 grams. You know, there's a reason why it's 1 egg, not 3 eggs. So I recommend to anyone who try to make any cakes to follow the recipe. And today we're going to do the base. That's the ABC of pastries to make a sweet pastry.
So that can be the basis of any fruit
Any
tart or
any tart,
any
chocolate tart, any tart. So I'm just going to put some butter.
Guillaume's sweet pastry starts by mixing diced butter with icing sugar and almond meal.
Okay. Just one whole egg.
Then a whole egg, a scraped vanilla bean,
Perfect. Thank you.
and some plain flour. You couldn't do your method without another person.
That's right, and it's great to do with the kids. Yeah, that was pretty straightforward. Leave it like that.
And so you rest that in the fridge for how long?
I would really like you do it overnight.
Guillaume rolls the pastry out and uses the pastry moulds to cut shapes.
3, 4. Trays.
These go into the fridge to firm up before being baked in a 170-degree oven.
Okay, look at that. Perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Next step, Guillaume makes creme pâtissière by heating pouring cream and milk with a scraped vanilla bean.
Custard sugar. I'm going to whisk.
He whisks 2 egg yolks with caster sugar and then adds plain flour and corn flour. Then the hot milk and cream gradually incorporated.
That's enough. I need to put it on the bowl.
This is returned to the stove to cook further.
That's done. Perfect.
Then strain through a fine sieve.
Nice. And again.
So that it's the most beautiful fine velvet texture.
Yeah.
To give a luscious finish, Guillaume adds whipped cream and spoons the glossy creme pâtissière on the pastry base with the season's best raspberries.
These really do look too beautiful to eat. Oh,
The raspberries,
it's exceptional.
good.
Delicious.
In our next French safari, the bouchons or workers' cafes of Lyon. The world's best chicken and the magic elixir, champagne.